You did the work, you healed the wounds, you processed the trauma, you set the boundaries, you showed up for yourself day after day through the ugly healing era. And now you're standing at the shore. The healing journey has brought you here, to this moment where you finally meet yourself. You look in the mirror, not superficially, but deeply. You see who you actually are, stripped of the masks, freed from the performance, no longer hiding. And then, the terrifying question: what if you don't like who you find? What if the authentic you isn't who you thought you'd be? What if finding yourself reveals something uncomfortable? What if the real you makes you uneasy? This is the conversation no one is having about the scariest part of self-discovery, and today we're going there. Hi, and welcome back to Miss Rain. I'm so excited to be in your ears today. And today's episode is a continuation of our healing series, but this time we're talking about what happens after the work. If you listened to the last episode on the ugly healing era, you know we didn't sugarcoat anything. We talked about the breakdown before the breakthrough, why healing makes you feel more worse first, the phases no one warns you about, how to survive the ugly without giving up. That episode was about the process. Today's episode is about the result, the end point, the moment you finally meet yourself. We're starting this year differently. We're no longer suppressing trauma. We're no longer ignoring wounds. We're no longer performing versions of ourselves to be accepted. We're brave enough to face ourselves and heal ourselves. The process is hard. The process is challenging. But the result? That's what we're exploring today. Because here is what no one tells you about finding yourself. There is no guarantee you'll like who you find. So I need you to do something with me. Close your eyes for a moment if you can, and imagine. Imagine the healing journey with all its ups and downs, its struggles and bright points is complete. You've done the therapy. You've processed the pain. You've released what wasn't yours. You've set the boundaries. You've become yourself. And now, you're standing in front of a mirror, not looking at your face, but looking at your soul. Staring at who you actually are, the parts only you can see, the truth no one else has access to. And you see you. There are two possibilities. Possibility number one, you look at this version of yourself and think, yes, this is who I was looking for. This is who I've been working toward. This is who I was always meant to be. You feel aligned, whole. You feel home. How does that make you feel? If the answer is peace, relief, joy, gratitude, your work was worth it. Possibility number two, you look at this version of yourself and feel uncomfortable. You think, wait, this isn't who I thought I was. This feels off. I don't know if I like this person. You feel discomfort, confusion, maybe even disappointment. And that's the scary part. The truth is, when you started your healing journey, there was no guarantee that the real you would be who you hoped for. No promise that authenticity would feel comfortable. Because sometimes, finding yourself reveals uncomfortable truths. And today, we're going to talk about why authentic self-discovery can be unsettling, what it means when you don't like what you find, The difference between not liking yourself and meeting uncomfortable truths. How to navigate the discomfort of authenticity. And ultimately, what to do when the real you isn't who you expected. So let's dive in. Let's start by dismantling a dangerous myth. The myth that your authentic self will be perfect, peaceful, and instantly likable. We've been sold a version of self-discovery that looks like yoga retreats in Bali, morning journaling with perfect handwriting. I found myself and now I'm at peace. Aesthetic self-care routines, the healed and whole Instagram post. We've been told that when you find yourself, you'll love everything about yourself, feel peaceful all the time, be free from conflict, radiate light and love, become the best version of yourself. But here is the truth. Authenticity isn't always comfortable. Your real self might have edges. Your truth might be inconvenient. Your authentic desires might contradict what you were taught to want. Dr. Kristen Neff, researcher on self-compassion, explains, authenticity doesn't mean you suddenly become a version of yourself that everyone loves. It means you stop performing for approval and start living from your truth, even when that truth is messy, complex, or contradictory. You might discover you're more introverted than you pretended to be, and that disappoints people. You're angrier than you allowed yourself to feel. You don't want the life path you've been pursuing. You're not as nice as you performed. You have needs that feel selfish. You have boundaries that upset others. You have desires that contradict your conditioning. You're more complex than the identity you built. And when you meet these parts of yourself, it can feel wrong, not because they are wrong, but because they don't match the version of you that felt safe. So let's talk about why meeting your authentic self can trigger discomfort, because understanding this will help you not panic when it happens. Let's start with reason number 1. You've been conditioned to be someone else. For most of your life, you've been shaped by external expectations. What your parents wanted you to be, what society said was acceptable, what your culture valued, what kept you safe as a child, what earned you love and approval. Dr. Donald Winnicott, psychoanalyst, introduced the concept of the false self, the adaptive persona we create to meet external demands and gain acceptance. The false self protects the true self by performing what's acceptable. But when you start healing and peeling back the false self, you meet the true self. And the true self might be very different from who you've been performing as. For example, you were raised to be agreeable, accommodating, selfless. Your true self, she's opinionated, boundaried, prioritizes herself. That can feel selfish, not because it is, but because it contradicts your conditioning. Reason number 2, authenticity threatens your relationships. Here is what no one tells you. When you change, your relationships have to change too. And some relationships can't survive your authenticity. The reality is, people loved the version of you that said yes to everything, didn't have boundaries, made yourself small, prioritized their comfort, played a role in their life. When you become authentic, you might say no, have boundaries, take up space, prioritize your needs, and refuse to play the role. Guess what? That threatens people. Research on differentiation in relationships, developed by psychiatrist Dr. Murray Bowen, shows that when one person in a system becomes more differentiated, more true to themselves, it creates anxiety in the system. People will pressure you, consciously or unconsciously, to return to who you were. So when you find yourself and feel uncomfortable, part of that discomfort is anticipating, if I'm fully me, will people still love me? If I'm authentic, will I lose relationships? If I stop performing, will I be alone? And those are scary questions. Reason number 3, you're grieving who you thought you'd be. Sometimes the discomfort isn't about who you are, it's about who you're not. You thought you'd be the person who loves corporate success, but you don't. The person who wants marriage and kids, but you're unsure. The person who's extroverted and social, but you're not. The person who's always positive, but you're more complex. And when you find yourself, you have to grieve the identity you built, the future you imagined, the version of you that fit expectations, the person you wanted to be. Dr. William Bridges, in his work on transitions, identifies this as the neutral zone, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. In this zone, you're grieving the old identity while the new one hasn't fully formed. It's disorienting, it's uncomfortable, and it's necessary. Now, here is the critical distinction. There is a difference between I don't like who I found and I'm uncomfortable with the truth of who I found. Let me explain. I don't like who I found. This means you discovered parts of yourself that are genuinely harmful. You recognize toxic patterns you need to address. You found traits that hurt others or yourself. You're accountability aware, not in denial. For example, I found that I'm controlling, and I don't like that. I found that I'm avoidant in relationships, and that's hurting people. I found that I'm judgmental, and that doesn't align with my values. What to do? This isn't the end point. This is data. We found something to work on. Authentic self-discovery includes seeing your shadows, and shadows can be healed, integrated, and transformed. This discomfort is productive. If what you found is, I'm uncomfortable with the truth of who I found, this means you discovered something true about yourself that contradicts conditioning. The discomfort is about societal judgment, not actual harm. You're meeting needs, desires that were shamed. You're seeing parts of yourself you were taught to hide. Let me give you some examples. I found that I'm actually ambitious and that feels selfish. Guess what? It's not. It's shamed in women. I found that I need a lot of alone time and that feels antisocial. It's not. It's introverted. I found that I'm angry about injustices and that feels unspiritual. It's not. It's righteous. I found that I don't want kids and that feels wrong. It's not. It's honest. What you do? The discomfort is conditioning, not truth. The work here is separating your truth from others' expectations, questioning whose voice is judging you, giving yourself permission to be who you actually are. This discomfort is transformative. So when you feel uncomfortable with who you found, ask yourself, is this discomfort because I'm being harmful or because I'm being honest? If harmful, work on it, heal it, integrate it. If honest, honor it, protect it, and live it. So let's talk about what finding yourself actually reveals, because it's rarely what you expect. Truth number one: you're more complex than one identity. You're not one thing, you're contradictions, soft and strong, introverted and social, spiritual and ambitious, kind and boundaried, peaceful and angry. Finding yourself means accepting you contain multitudes, and that complexity might feel unstable at first, but it's not instability, it's wholeness. Truth number two: you have needs, and that's not selfish. You might find that you have needs for rest, for solitude, for recognition, for support, for pleasure, for boundaries. And if you were raised to believe needs are selfish, meeting your authentic needs will feel wrong. But needs aren't selfish, they're human. Truth number three: you're not for everyone, and that's completely okay. Finding yourself means accepting not everyone will like the real you, and that's not a flaw in you. It's the price of authenticity. When you perform, everyone can love you because you're not really there. When you're authentic, only aligned people will stay. And that's actually very beautiful because the people who stay, they love the real you. Last but not least, you're allowed to change your mind. Finding yourself doesn't mean you found the final version. You're allowed to evolve as long as you breathe. The you that you find today might not be the you in 5 years. And that's not failure, that's growth. Authenticity isn't static, it's a continuous process of meeting yourself where you are. Alright, so now let's make this actionable. Here are 5 practices to navigate the discomfort of finding yourself. Practice number 1: separate conditioning from truth. When you feel uncomfortable with who you found, ask yourself, whose voice is this discomfort? Is it your parents' voice, your culture's voice, your religion's voice, society's voice, or your own truth? The practice is to journal. I feel uncomfortable about a trait, a desire, a truth, because then ask yourself, is this discomfort based on harm I'm causing or judgment I've internalized? This separates shame from truth. Practice number 2: befriend the parts you don't like. If you found parts of yourself you genuinely don't like, don't exile them, befriend them. Internal family systems therapy, developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz, teaches that every part of you has a positive intention, even the parts you don't like. Your controlling part is trying to keep you safe. Your avoidant part is protecting you from pain. Your judgmental part is trying to maintain standards. The practice would be, instead of saying, I hate that I'm controlling, try this. My controlling part is trying to protect me. What does it need to relax? This transforms rejection into integration. Practice number 3: test your authenticity in safe spaces first. What does that mean? Don't reveal your entire authentic self to everyone at once. Test it in safe spaces, whether it's therapy, close trusted friends, journaling, small communities, or people who've proven they can hold complexity. Let your authenticity breathe in safe containers first. Then, as you get comfortable, expand. You don't owe everyone immediate access to your truth. Practice number 4. Grieve the version you thought you'd be. If finding yourself means letting go of an identity you built, grieve it. The practice here is to write a letter to the version of yourself you thought you'd be. For example, dear identity I thought I'd have. I thought I'd be, but I'm actually. And that's okay because you can write whatever comes to your mind. Just let it out. Let yourself mourn the future you imagined, the identity that felt safe, the person you wanted to be. Grief makes space for the truth. The last practice, remember, finding yourself is not the end. Here is the liberating truth. You don't have to get it right. Finding yourself isn't about discovering the final perfect you. It's about meeting yourself honestly in this moment. And if that self evolves, good. If you change your mind, good. If you discover new layers, good. You're not stuck with who you find. You're in a relationship with yourself. And like all relationships, it evolves. Now, let me tell you when you'll know it was worth it. It's worth it when you stop performing and start breathing, when you say no without guilt, when you prioritize your needs without shame, when you lose relationships that required you to be small, and you're okay with it, when you feel aligned even when it's uncomfortable, when you choose honesty over approval, and when you show up as yourself and the right people stay. It's worth it when you look in the mirror, not superficially but deeply, and think, I don't know if I like everything I see yet, but I know this is real, and real is better than performing. Because here is the thing. You might not immediately like who you find, but you'll respect who you find. And respect is more sustainable than performance. Respect is what builds a real life. As we come close to the end of this episode, here is what I want you to remember. Finding yourself is scary because there are no guarantees. You might find someone different than you expected. You might find someone who makes you uncomfortable. You might find someone who doesn't fit the mold. And that's okay, because the alternative, never meeting yourself at all, is far scarier. Living your entire life as a performance, that's the real tragedy. So if you're at the shore of your healing journey, looking at yourself for the first time, and you feel uncomfortable, ask yourself, is this discomfort because I'm harmful or because I'm honest? If it's harmful, heal it. If it's honest, honor it. Because the world doesn't need another performance. It needs the real you. Even if the real you is messy, even if the real you is complex, even if the real you makes people uncomfortable, your authenticity is your power, and it's worth the discomfort of finding. Share this episode with someone navigating their own self-discovery, someone who's scared of what they'll find, someone who needs permission to be imperfect and real. And remember, you don't have to like everything you find, but you have to meet yourself honestly. That's where freedom lives. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Until next time, stay graceful, stay powerful, and always wear your crown.